content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really just
I love stories like this because it's
you can just be scared to death.
Yeah, that's a real thing. There are countless stories bad enough of
people that you shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination limo.
too real.
Some of the content.
Fuck. Oh, from the Arctic tundra, deep within the South Pole. This is T3TV. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And I fucked up the beginning of the show. Oh, good evening, Larry. I'm here, your host, alongside Daniel Stephen Rady
What is up?
and Stephen Allen
Daniel
Gibson.
Rady.
Stephen Allen Gibson.
Yes.
No,
Close enough.
Stephen Robert. I remember from
Steve-
last week.
Stephen Rochelle Gibson.
Okay. There you have it, folks. Good night, everybody. No, where talks of snow lead to a bunch of discussion and innuendo, it is Thursday night. You are in the right place at the right time, Larry. It's just you, man. It's always been you. All right, so obviously we are in the midst of a big winter storm. We're looking to get anywhere between, 10 to 14 inches, they say? Go ahead,
That's what
Buddha.
you're saying.
I took 10 and then I went outside to do the snow.
There you go. Dan took the 14.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Did you work today, Buddha?
terrible.
I did not actually.
Oh,
So it was pretty shitty out, or not super shitty in the morning, and we're like, man, if it does get as bad as they say that it will, anywhere we go, we're just going to be stuck,
right.
you know.
Yep.
So after my wife was super happy that I wasn't going to work by 8 o'clock this morning, she couldn't wait till I quote unquote got the fuck out of the house. So, and that's that.
Where'd you end up going?
No, that she was just saying get the fuck out of the house.
Oh.
No, but I didn't go to work. So
Did you work in
I
the
had-
studio at all?
I did for a little bit. I did the snow twice. It was pretty terrible. Yeah, that was today.
Yeah, there you have it. All right. Dan, how was your day in the snow?
Well, I made it down from the upstairs to the living room with no problem. So, there was no issues getting to work today. Really, you know what? I opened my door to take my garbage out to the garage, and for the first time since I've lived in this place, and I've been here almost 8 years, I literally had to push snow out from my door to get. There was probably about, I don't want to say a foot, but probably 7 or 8 inches compacted up to my door that I had to push out of the way. I've never had that happen before.
How'd you measure?
I won't say.
6.5 cut.
You're going to need 7 or 8 of those to measure that much. I'll tell you that. All right, let's do some news.
It was cold.
So I was cold. I was in the pool.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple funny ones, a couple science ones, business. So we'll get through this. So Florida list rejected vanity plates, and so there's a couple of things that the state of Florida rejected so that people could put on their license plates. I always think that some of these. It says the department said more than 500 plate requests were rejected in 2021 for containing obscenities, profanity, and letter and number combinations deemed to be offensive or making reference to offensive topics. Several of others were recalled to the agency after being reported by members to the public. So here are a couple of the greatest hits. T. Bundy, fart, F-A-A-A-R-T, 2020 WTF, Forever 69, Drug Man, I Fart, Meth, but instead of the E, the number 3, Nuts, Nuuuuts, V Nasty, White Trash, so WHTRA5H, pretty good. Let's see. Is it Yes Queen? Yes Queen. YASSQWN. I'm not sure. And then Dr. 69. So, see if I can find any other ones here. Oh man, there's a whole big database of them. Let's see. Going through here. For you ticket. For fuck's sake. For FX sake. That's pretty good. B00B5, B1TCH, BYEH0E, Bio.
You know, I have one thing to add to this. It's bad enough that you have to pay to register your fucking vehicle, let alone, pay for the plates. If you want to be dumb enough to make it easier for any person to remember your car by paying for a vanity plate, the last fucking thing is the government should be telling you no.
Yeah, right?
And you're giving them more money. Like,
A lot
they
more
should
money.
welcome
Yep.
you with open fucking arms.
Isn't it like 150 or 120 bucks or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't remember. Well, they'll take it from you in some other way.
Didn't
Right.
you have Cadman at one point? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
All right,
I
moving on.
hate paying for regular plates.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. All right, so obviously, and I don't know if you guys follow the folklore or whatnot, but looks like Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter. No shit. Like,
Yeah.
got buried. So
The one in Jersey just died or something like that.
he was like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah, he was like, "I am fuck all you. This is the ice age."
Well, he knew it was going to really be, he knew it was going to be a real bad one. He's like, the hell with this. I don't want no death threats.
Yeah, he was like, "If I fucking tell them the truth, they're just gonna kill me."
Fuck it. All right, so yeah, 6 more weeks of winter. Great. All right, here's an interesting one. This one's Buddha's gonna get a kick out of this. Loose chicken found wandering in Pentagon security area. February 3rd, animal rescuers in Virginia responded to an unusual national security situation. A chicken on the loose in the Pentagon security area. The Animal Welfare League of Arlington said the personnel were summoned to the U.S. Department of Defense headquarters when a, quote, chicken was caught sneaking around the security area at the Pentagon. Apparently, the answer to why the chicken crossed the road is to get to the Pentagon, somebody posted. Wow. Where's my bomb drop sound effect on that one? That was terrible. The animal
Was it a robot chicken?
No. I think it was a male chicken. Or, well,
really?
Rooster. Yeah.
A male chicken.
Male chicken. Well, you never know.
Interesting.
It is 2021. Or no, it's 2022. Fuck. So it says, for actual security reasons, we are now allowed to disclose the exact location. The AWL said that the chicken, now dubbed Henny Penny, will have a new permanent home at Virginia's Animal Sanctuary. So it looks like there's another chicken on the loose. All right. Here's one from Cleveland today I thought was kind of interesting. The Cleveland Division of Police is investigating after remains were found in a sewer on Wednesday. An employee for the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District made the discovery while working inside the sewer on Euclid Avenue near Ivanhoe Road shortly before noon. The Cleveland police said the person's age, gender, and race are unknown at this time. The Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office will work to determine the identification. But imagine you're like a sewer worker and you're going to work and then all of a sudden you find somebody. It's got to be skeletal at this point. I don't know.
It depends on when it went in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, but yesterday with how rainy it was and how it has been, like, well, then again, it's been really cold, so maybe it was frozen too.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's probably was frozen depending when the person died.
Yeah.
I did hear that story. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
It was Euclid and what?
Ivanhoe?
Where the fuck is that?
I don't know. It's it looks like first district, or not first district, but like Cleveland PD. So
Cleveland PM.
All right. Okay. So I don't know if you saw this one here, Buddha. Apple privacy changes wiped 278 billion market value from 4 companies. I guess all the privacy changes that Apple's made on their platform cost Facebook $10 billion.
Fuck them.
Right.
Let's see. Let's see. The earnings result from social media companies on Wednesday highlighted the weakness to investors, resulting in a steep sell-off in their stocks. In Thursday trades, Meta platforms fell 22%, Snapchat fell 18%, Twitter fell 8%, and Pinterest fell 11%. Does anybody even still use Pinterest anymore?
Oh, dude, yeah. I fucking all the designers, quote unquote, use fucking Pinterest. Like, I feel like every fucking designer that we work with is literally like flipping through pictures on Pinterest going, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Like, they don't actually come up with their own fucking designs anymore. So unfortunately, Pinterest is where you go when you want to like spend 10 times as much money on a useless fucking product than you could if you like just did it normal.
Yeah, I'm not hip. I do not have a Pinterest.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
It says it comes after Facebook missed its Q4 earnings targets this week and announced that it expects changes made by Apple last year to cost the company some $10 billion in revenue. Spending in shares in free fall on Wednesday, a trend that continued when markets opened. So all their privacy settings that, well, they said this was going to happen back when Apple made all their changes. So I don't know. Good on Apple, but I mean, what are they doing with your information? They're keeping it for themselves, probably.
Well, Apple's kind of a piece of shit company too.
I agree. I hate Apple.
I'm not saying
hate
that,
Apple.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying, but yeah. All right. 2 more here. So did you guys see the story about SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket on collision course with the moon?
I did not.
So
No, but I did see that the space station is going to fall by like 2030 into the ocean.
which one?
Really?
I don't fucking know.
The actual international space station?
I believe so.
No, I didn't read that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that either.
So
Spoiler alert.
So it's saying here on this one's from let's see, SciTechDaily.com. The moon is set to gain one more crater. A leftover SpaceX Falcon 9 upper stage will be impacting the lunar surface in early March, marking the first time that a human-made debris item is unintentionally reaches our natural satellite. In 2015, the Falcon 9 placed NOAA's Discover Climate Observatory around the L1 Lagrange point, one of the 5 such gravitationally stable points between Earth and the Sun. Having reached L1 in around 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, the mission's upper stage ended up pointed away from Earth and into interplanetary space. So this rendered deorbit burn to dispose of it in our planet's atmosphere impractical, while the upper stage also lacked sufficient velocity to escape the Earth-Moon system. Instead, it was left in a chaotic sun orbiting near the 2 bodies. So I guess this is just going to smack into the moon here within early March. It's kind of interesting.
My question, getting back to that space station real quick. So if that thing actually, how big is that thing? How big is that space station? Does anybody know?
It's pretty, I mean, it's bigger than the Mir one that was up there, the Russian space station. I'm looking it up right now.
It's 356 feet end to end.
Okay.
So it's like it's a football field. It's over a football field.
Okay. So yeah, I was wondering, because my question is, if that is true and that thing falls, to Earth, I mean, it's not an asteroid, but could that cause, even if it just falls in the ocean, could that cause some kind of problems? It's pretty damn big.
From BBC right here. Yeah, Buddha, you're right. International Space Station to crash down to Earth in 2031.
It says that they're going to retire it and crash it, though, so I'm sure they're not just going to drop it.
Oh,
it probably has some type of protocol, but hey, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's saying here the International Space Station, ISS, will continue working until 2030 before plunging into the Pacific Ocean in early 2031, according to NASA. In a report this week, the U.S. Space Agency said that the ISS would crash into part of the ocean known as Point Nemo. This is a point is furthest from land on planet Earth, also known as Spacecraft Cemetery. Many old satellites and other debris have crashed here, including the Russian space station Mir in 2001. NASA said that the future space activities close to Earth would be led by the commercial sector. The ISS was a joint project involving 5 space agencies and has been in orbit since 1998 and has been continuously crewed since 2000. More than 3,000 research investigations have taken place in its microgravity laboratory. Crazy. I didn't realize it's been up there that long.
I actually thought it was longer. That wasn't the one they started building in the 80s, was it?
No, that was me. Well, no, that was Mir. And then
was that Mir? Okay.
Yeah. And that was the Russian one. However, it's only approved to operate until 2024, and any extension must be agreed by all partners. So, well, it looks like they're running out of time.
Yeah.
Crazy. But, cool.
Stupid question. Intended purpose of that. Like, that's where they go and dock, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's basically a laboratory in space.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, last one here, Dan, and this one's for you. I don't know if you've read into this yet. GM declares chip crisis over and says it's time to let the cheap cars roll. This one's from Fortune.com. Did you hear about this?
You know what? I saw the story come through. I actually did not. I saw it come through just today. I did not click on it.
Yeah, it says General Motors expects to boost global volumes by 25 to 30% this year as it bulks up production of smaller, more affordable crossovers and sedans that could not be built previously due to missing chips. Despite the consensus among analysts that the semiconductor pipeline remains fragile, executives from the Detroit manufacturer say that the crisis appears to be over. Supply remains constrained, yet it continues to steadily improve since the third quarter. The run state that we've seen sequentially from 3Q to 4Q to 1Q is giving a heightened level of confidence, Finance Chief Paul Jacobson told investors during an early earnings call on Tuesday. We expect ongoing semiconductor availability improvements through 2022. But
yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead.
More crossovers for you, Dan.
Yeah, that's all we need. Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. That's all we're gonna. And that's that's what the public wants, I guess. They quit advertising sedans. They quit making sedans for the most part, and that's what the buying public wants now.
Yeah. Is the RAV4 considered a crossover?
Yeah, that's definitely a crossover because it's not really a full on. I mean it. I don't know. The RAV4 could be, I guess, considered an SUV as well. I think the way they look, in my opinion, you could look it up. I could be wrong, but I think they're more crossovers. I'm
curious.
Yeah, because an SUV is like your Grand Cherokees and your like 4Runners. Huh?
What about a Blazer?
My opinion of that's not.
Did you have a Blazer? Was that a Blazer?
No, I had an Envoy. That blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an Envoy, and then years and years ago I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee, like a 90s Grand Cherokee, and that thing was a tank. That was a beast.
Yeah, my dad had a Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, good vehicle. Good fucking vehicle. But no, I had an Envoy, but that Envoy was like a truck. I mean, it was an SUV, but it was built on like a truck frame. So that's definitely an SUV. But yeah, like the RAV4 and, I think the Blazer I think that's considered an SUV too, but the new one.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it says here it's a mid-size crossover, so it is what it is.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep, I figured so. Yep.
All right. Well, that's all the news I got for tonight. You guys have anything that you wanted to touch on before we get into tonight's stories?
I figured that was the whole show.
Yeah, we're done. That's it.
All right. Good night, everybody. All right. Let's see. Where'd my thing, this program go? There it is. It was in my other window. All right. Well, Dan?
Yes, sir.
It's, of course, not. Where is it?
There we go. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, sorry. All right.
Nice. All right. Well, today I want to talk about, or tonight I wanted to talk about something that's always interested me was rare options in cars. And over the many, many decades, there's always been a lot of rare things that have come and gone. Lots of them from all the different car companies. But I decided I just picked up 3 of them here that I wanted to talk over real quick and just go over how weird and kind of quirky these options were. And I'm going to go over 3 of them, and they're from the late 50s and 60s. And just to kind of go over how things were, how the car companies looked at things back then. And none of these options I'm going over are high tech in any way, shape, or form, because in those days there really wasn't a whole lot of technology. But we'll start off with 2 of them are from General Motors and one's from Chrysler. I'll start with this is kind of a funny one here. General Motors offered this on Chevy, okay, only Chevy. It was a dealer installed option. It wasn't factory, it was dealer, and it was called the Flame Out. Now, what that is, the Flame Out was actually a vacuum ashtray system. Now, back in the day, everybody smoked cigarettes. That was just the way it was. And, it was just proof of the old cars. All the cars have lighters and cigarette, tons of ashtrays and things like that in them.
Were you a smoker?
Who, me? No. I smoked for a short time, like 2003, 2004, but I didn't smoke long. Here and there, but I was not like a, pack a day or anything like that.
Did you ever smoke a cigarette?
Nope.
That's right. You haven't either.
I smoked that pole.
This motherfucker, he wouldn't even smoke a cigar. He's such a pussy. He can't handle that shit. Anyway.
Dan gets mad when you attack his masculinity.
That's right, man. Alpha male here all the way. Yeah, right.
You're beta as fuck.
Stupid.
Okay. Anyway. What, John?
No, nothing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. All right. So anyway, the Flame Out ashtray, the idea of it, here's what I was basically trying to say. So everyone smoked back in the day, and...
Sorry. I hit the wrong key.
You're trying to fuck me up tonight, aren't you?
No, I'm really not. No, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so everyone smoked back in the day, which I know I said like 6 times now. So the thing is, one of the problems that happened quite a bit, and this actually happened to a friend of the family back in the mid 80s. I was a little kid, but I remember it happening. One of the issues that happened with people is if they didn't put the cigarette out in the ashtray, they would flick the butt right out the window, right? Well, a lot of times, many times, the cigarette ash the cigarette might go out the window, but the heated ash would go in the back seat and fly, from the wind would go in the back seat. Well, of course, it doesn't take much of imagination to think that within 5-10 minutes, all of a sudden the interior is on fire in the car. And back in the day, there was a lot of fires like this. And before cell phones, these cars would basically just burn to the ground because they'd get out of the car, and by the time anybody would get to the car, it would be too late, the fire trucks and that. So,
dude, nothing.
What's up?
Dude, something about smoking just makes me crack up. I don't know why, but people's addiction for cigarettes and just how that's just a one-track thing. And then when they flick the button out the window and it gets sucked back
into the back seat.
Yeah, then I don't know. Every time I think about it, it just cracks me up.
And if a lot of people don't even know that, a lot of younger people don't even realize that shit did happen back then. And like I said, it happened to a family friend in the 80s. And again, they didn't get hurt enough, and they pulled the car over, and the thing was a charred piece of shit after it was done because they couldn't, no one could get to it in time. Well, General Motors had a great idea because this was a common problem. And instead of throwing your cigarette butt out the window, GM decided they came up with, it was through another company. I think the company was called Flame Out, and GM, they kind of partnered together to offer this. And what it basically was very simple. It was a canister, looked like one of those jars that you keep fruits in or keep vegetables and things in. I can't think what those jars are called. But it looks like a standard jar. And what it had vacuum lines that ran into the engine. So you would press a little button under the dash, and you'd take your cigarette butt and put it into this little circular tube, and the vacuum from the engine would actually suck either the ash itself or the cigarette butt right into the jar. taking care of it, getting it out of your, putting the cigarette out, putting the ash out, and not causing any fire hazards and things like that. This was actually offered from 1957 to 1960. And like I said, it was strictly for Chevy. It was not factory. It was a dealer installed option. But it wasn't very popular. I mean, it did sell some, but it was not a very popular option. One of the things that you'll notice about a lot of these options I talk about is they only lasted 1 or 2 years or 3 years. And that's because they didn't have, the reason an option is discontinued is because just like anything, it does not have a high take rate. Why does it not have a high take rate? Well, there's 2 reasons usually. A, it's too damn expensive of an option, and the people just don't want to spend the extra money on that particular option. Or B, it's usually too far out there, too high tech, or too just not in the eyes of the buying public. That's something they don't want to venture into going with, and paying extra money for. So those are the reasons they don't go for it. In the 50s and 60s. The car buying public, at least, was a lot more conservative than they are now. So they didn't like trying out new things and looking at new things as far as car options were concerned. GM actually came out with a heated seat in I didn't bring this one up. I'm not even talking about this one tonight. But in 1967, Cadillac offered the very first heated seat. But it was just for the driver. And again, it was a great option, great idea, but it didn't take off, and it was discontinued 2 years later. But that's the point of these options, is why they were so rare they didn't last long. But anyway, that was the ashtray. So again, the idea was kind of cool, to prevent fires from happening, but the buying public just didn't see it, and after 1960, the option disappeared. So that was called the flame out ashtray. The next one I'm going to talk about, we're going to switch gears here over to Chrysler. Now, again, most people may not know, Chrysler had a division called Imperial. I've mentioned it before on here. Imperial was like the Cadillac of Chrysler, or the Lincoln. That was their flagship division. Imperial got killed off in 1975. The name came back a few times, but it's been gone pretty much since 1975. But Imperial was like the most luxurious Chrysler product you can buy. Well, they came up with, this was a weird ass idea, very weird. So they came up with something, and it was used in the 1967 and 68 models. It was called the Imperial Crown Coupe. It was a 2-door car, just a coupe, obviously. And what it consisted of was, it was called, the option itself, and you can actually Google this one. You'll definitely see photos of this one. It was called the Mobile Director, the Imperial Mobile Director. And what this option consisted of was, first off, it cost a lot of money. In 1967, it cost $597. So adjusted for inflation, that's about a $5,000 option today. $5,000 fucking dollars for one option, not a package, just one option. And all it consisted of was a passenger seat that would do a 180-degree swivel, so it could face the people in the back seat. The armrest, the front seat armrest, would actually also swivel around and open up into I think it's a 2 or 3 part wood table. And that would face in front of the back seat, the back seat passenger, rear passenger in the back seat. And then also they gave you a lamp with a high intensity light that plugged into a cigarette lighter. And it was kind of a flexible lamp where you can kind of move it all in different directions. This idea.
What for, though?
So the option,
maybe to read maps when you're pulled over or something?
Well, not really. The idea, well, I mean, you could use it for that, sure. But the way Chrysler looked at it, it was for which is so ridiculous thinking about it, for the executive. The executive that is sitting in the back seat, and his secretary is in the front seat, and he's giving her, yeah, he's giving her he's telling her, stuff that needs to be done in the business. He's, giving her duties to do and things that need to be done. That was the idea, while still driving around, while still being driven back and forth. Honestly, in reality, it's completely ridiculous, because to think that an executive is going to be driving around in a 2-door car scrunched in the back seat of this thing is is ridiculous, And the car this option had a very, very low take rate. I think there was for the 2 years, there was under 200 of them that people ordered them with under 200 people ordered this option. And there was 30,000 cars sold within those years. So you can see how rare it was. And because it was for one reason, it was so expensive. I mean, again, $5,000 option in today's money, a lot of people just did not see the use of that. And again, what executive would really, an executive could be driving around in a limousine probably, not going to be driving around in a two-door car. But that was the idea.
That would be a pain in the ass to get in and out of. Not
to mention safety. I mean, think about if that car's in an accident and the secretary or the person sitting in the passenger seat is facing the wrong way without a seatbelt on. That's one reason. There's probably one reason this option went away too, was because, I mean, there was just too many safety issues. They would have used it on it would make more sense. And a lot of people ask us, why the hell did they not put it on a 4-door Imperial instead of the 2-door? Because that at least would make a little more sense. The reason they couldn't do it was because of an engineering issue. The B-pillar stub would have actually been in the way of the swiveling seat. So they couldn't do it on a 2-door car, or I'm sorry, on a 4-door car. That was the reason they put it on the 2-door. Now, I want to add one thing though. This option, the original concept came out in =66 at a car show, and Chrysler showed this. It actually made a hell of a lot more sense. It was called the Mobile Executive show car. It was still an Imperial Coupe, a 2-door, but this car actually it was fitted with a telephone, the writing table, of course, typewriter, a television, the reading lamp, stereo, and I think they call it a dictaphone, as they call it?
Dictaphone.
Is that what it is?
I believe so.
Yeah. So
he just wanted to say that word.
I didn't even hear. He cut out, so I didn't hear what he said. I just agreed with him. I don't know what the fuck he said. Anyway, so so that idea made a hell of a lot more sense had they brought the car out like that. That would have easily justified the $597 price tag by putting all that, and that would make more sense for a executive to have a telephone, a typewriter, stereo, all that stuff. That would have made so much more sense for them to do. But at the time, for whatever reason, it just wasn't feasible at the time, or either Chrysler didn't want to spend the extra money. And all they offered was just the table, the lamp, and the swiveling seat, which most people are not paying that kind of money for just those minor little items. But you see the photos of it.
How big was the table? Did you give the dimensions?
I did not give the dimensions. It was probably enough to put like a typewriter on there,
Yeah.
It's not huge. It wasn't. It didn't take up the whole back seat or anything.
Like a meal tray on an airplane or something.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. You can look it up. Like I said, just look up Imperial Mobile Director, and you'll see a bunch of photos of it. There's tons of photos because there are still some examples that exist today that people have. I think Jay Leno has one in his collection, I believe. But yeah, that was the option there. And again, it was an interesting idea, but had Chrysler figured out a better way to do it, I think it might have, at maybe a cheaper price, it might have caught on. After 1969, the option disappeared and was never seen again. So that's the Imperial Mobile Director. So the last one I want to go over here is definitely more appropriate to what we have going on right now, since there's 10,000 inches of snow on the ground right now. This one, again, we're going to go back to GM. This was, again, offered only on Chevys, but this was actually only offered for 1 year. And the idea, again, was kind of a good idea, interesting idea. It was offered for $1969 only, and it was called Liquid Tire Chain. So back in the day, people would put the chains on their tires. They also had snow tires that had those little studs sticking out back in the 60s and 70s, and those were horrible ideas because they completely annihilated the already shitty roads that we have, when people were doing burnouts and spinouts and try to get out of the area there that they're stuck in. It was just ripping the roads apart. But GM came up with a great idea called Liquid Tire Chain. Now, what the Liquid Tire Chain was, it was 2 canisters that were in the trunk of the car. And again, you can look this up too. And it was connected to the wheel well in the trunk. And it had 2 canisters, one on the left side, one on the right side. and it had a can of it was called liquid tire chain traction improvement is what it said, or traction improver, and it was basically a can of a special space aged at the time chemical called, it was a polymer basically. And what it did was there was a button under the dash that you would press, and it would actually spray the tires with this chemical. So when you're stopped at a stoplight and you're like, oh man, this is really slick right here. I'm going to need to use this. So as you're getting ready to hit the accelerator, you hit the button on the dash and it would spray the tires with this sticky substance that would actually help give the car a better grip on the snow.
Giggity.
And it actually, from tests that they ran back in the day, it actually worked pretty good. It wasn't perfect by any way, shape, or form, but it actually did a great job of giving the car a little better traction while it was stuck there in the snow. And, again, the idea, this one sold about 2,600, in 1969. So definitely more than the other two options I mentioned, but not in the grand scheme of things, not much as far as how many cars are sold. When you figure Chevy sells, 800,000 cars a year or whatever it was available for the full lineup of Chevy cars, and mostly only the full-size cars actually bought this particular option. There's not many examples of this around anymore because it just, again, it wasn't that common of a not many people took this option on. But again, it was an idea that really was kind of a cool idea, and had maybe GM figured out a little better way to work it and figure it out, and maybe use it on all four tires or something else, or maybe advertise it better, it might have taken off a little better. And it was kind of a cool idea for the times.
Why don't they sell it anymore?
That's the mystery, and I've researched the hell out of this. This was not even that expensive of an option. I mean, I think it was like a today's dollars. It was like a $200 option or something like that. So it wasn't terribly expensive. It's a mystery to why this disappeared. Nobody throughout GM or a lot of the historians understand why it went away, because usually, even when options start off kind of shitty and they don't have a big sell rate, they usually still show up at least 1 or 2 more years later. Then they realize, okay, no one buying this option, all the engineering costs that we put into this, we got at least something out of it, we're going to discontinue it. This option literally lasted 1 year and then just disappeared, not to be mentioned again. And as of today, it's a mystery to why this option disappeared. It was a great idea for the time, and it really did work to at least help with traction and get you out of, slick areas, like, get stuck in snow and that. And I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. But again, GM, they come up with good ideas, and then instead of perfecting them, they just let it, die in the wind, and that's the end of it.
I see on eBay here they have AC Delco is the parts manufacturer for GM, right?
Right. Yeah, AC Delco. Yep, they were back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cans of liquid tire chain for $100.
Yep. Yeah, I noticed those, and if you look too, you can see how it was. You can see how it was supposed to work. There's like an old black and white photo of looks like a woman stuck in the snow here, and it shows exactly how. It's a diagram. It shows exactly how the product worked, how it aimed down on the tire and it sprayed through the wheel well. Basically, there must have been and I didn't see how it worked, but there must have been a cylinder or a hose or something that was sticking out of the wheel well on the top part of it, and it would just spray the tire, this polymer. And that the polymer was actually developed by Dow Corporation, which is, of course, at the time, one of the biggest chemical corporations in the world. So I don't know why it went away and why it disappeared, but,
you can still get bluecoal.uk, Blue Coal Tire Snow Grip. It's a liquid snow chain designed to improve tire traction on snow and ice. It can offer up to 3 times more grip than normal tire grip on ice. So
okay, so the chemical.
Yeah, and it's a can.
Product.
I don't know if you can buy it in the U.S., though.
Interesting. I don't know if there was, and that's the thing, I don't know if it was some kind of government thing, if that was what was, something, there was some reason that they couldn't do it. I mean, it's just odd that it only lasted 1 year. And that is what a lot of people kind of wonder about this option, because General Motors was literally one of the most powerful corporations in the world back at this time. It's certainly the most powerful car corporation in the world. So, it's strange that they did not give this at least one more year to see how it would work out, especially in the northern states. I mean, you can understand it not selling in California or Florida or Arizona, but, Ohio, Pennsylvania, places like that,
Yeah,
you'd think it would sell better.
I'm looking here. Have you ever heard of a snow sock for a tire? It says snow socks.
I haven't.
Snow socks are lengths of fabric that can be wrapped around the circumference of a tire, just like a snow chain. The fabric metal uses dry friction to help the snow stick to its surface, creating a sticky contact patch for traction.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I'm surprised people don't have that in their cars around here. A product like that. It must be something environmental because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, that's possibly why it got discontinued from Chevy right off the bat. I mean, because it was, if you figure, think about it. If this would have really took off and say, 100,000 people would have bought it, think about how much of that chemical would have been going in the environment if it indeed is bad for the environment, which I don't know. I have no idea. That's just speculation. But exactly, a lot of people probably don't even know. I didn't even actually know that it still existed. I did not know that the product still, you could get it.
I'm looking here. Black Ice Tire Grip. It's on carcart.com. That's United States. Background Tire Grip. Snow and Ice Teflon Spray. This is made by DuPont. So, yeah, like I said, I've never heard of anything like that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Background BGT1 Tire Grip and Spray Can on Amazon. So,
see, and that's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say 3.5 star reviews, 431 ratings. So
yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people, again, we've talked about this. I think we've talked about this before, but a lot of people don't realize. You can have 4-wheel drive, you can have traction control, you can have all the safety features, but at the end of the day, that stuff it's going to help. It helps with traction, but it's not going to solve the problem. That's why you see so many fucking people on the side of the road flipped over in their SUVs. They had 4-wheel drive, they had traction control, but they don't know how to drive a car and don't understand the physics and understanding of the vehicle, the understanding of the way the vehicle is going to drive, and they think, well, I got 4-wheel drive, I can just drive up a mountain and not have a problem with it. The true form of traction comes into the tire itself, and having a solvent, the spray on there like that, it's the answer to the problem. It really is a bigger answer to the problem than just having all-wheel drive and all that other stuff, because that's what everyone relies on, and it doesn't address the traction. It really doesn't. It just helps with it. It's kind of an aid to help not slide as much. But having something on the tire, that is really an amazing idea. And GM had a great idea at the time with the way they did this.
Yeah, I'm looking here. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so that's it. There you have it. 3. And I'm going to do more of these too as time goes on. I love talking about rare, weird options in cars that that are gone, long gone, and there's plenty more to talk about. So
I was looking up the flame out when you were talking about it, and I stumbled upon this person could have used it for sure. This one is a news article out of NBCWashington.com. It says, and this was from early last year, so it's kind of an old story, but still kind of funny. It says a car exploded into flames Thursday evening in Maryland when a driver used hand sanitizer while smoking a cigarette. The fire started about 5:30 p.m. at the Federal Plaza Shopping Center in Rockville. The driver used hand sanitizer while smoking a cigarette, which a Montgomery County Fire and Rescue spokesperson said is a bad combination in an unventilated area like a car. It's not really the liquid of the sanitizer that is catching fire, but the vapors, which is extremely important to apply in a well-ventilated area.
Oh, man. There you go.
Says, the car caught on fire and it was a total loss. So could have used the flame out there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly, man. If they would have had that option still.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome, Buddha.
Buddha, what do you got?
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
I have
Yep.
a couple different things to go over, I guess, depending on how long you actually were trying to run this tonight, since you've been trying to keep it a little shorter.
You tell me.
All right. Well, I guess this one's kind of you just got to bear with me. This one's pretty short.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm kind of doing like one of more of like the cryptid type paranormal stories. So,
Cool.
you know,
Okay.
trying to find sources is like pulling fucking
Yeah.
teeth.
Yep.
So this one is actually mixed up from a couple different articles, but so it's a short article about what it is, and then it goes on like a comparison to other shit throughout pretty much like history. So I'm just gonna start. Oh motherfucker! I just closed the page. Hang on.
Nice going.
You know I always got to get them rock solid starts.
How the fuck do you not see a semi in front of you?
Exactly. All right. So this took place at a place. Come on, let's all be fucking nice. This took place at a place in Louisiana that's actually named Devil Swamp Lake. It was on June 8th in 2000 at 6:30 a.m. A 41-year-old man named Roger Mixon was hunting in an isolated area when he came across a dark purple colored object that was the size of an 18-wheeler, which, you know, roughly, it lists roughly as 70 to 80 feet long. I think that's a little big, but anyway, it was shaped like a batwing sitting on the nearby ground. A drawbridge-type door opened in the object, and the witness saw that there were 3 humanoid creatures attempting to capture a nearby alligator. So they were basically wrestling with it. Now, Mixon describes them as wearing crowns of gold, having human faces with long hair and sharp teeth like those of lions. And he also stated that they wore breastplate that appeared to be made from cast iron. So the most bizarre and interesting aspect of the report is that the creatures were said to have scorpion-like tails and 4 wing-like protrusions. So the alien beings did not see Roger at first, but when one of them caught sight of him, he stated to fire his 12-gauge shotgun at them, hitting one of them in the chest and knocking it down. However, it was apparently unharmed, seeing as it pretty much just got back up and returned fire at Mixon, shooting at him using some kind of implement that was hanging from its waist. A beam-like light struck the leaving a scar, and according to Mixon, he has since lost most of the use of his arm since the attack. One of them, which was not clear, fired once more before the humanoid seemingly rose upwards in the air and into the object, which then it closed its doors and took off at lightning speed. And Mixon, who was now both wounded and terrified, never stated that he never hunted in those woods again. So that's the story. The comparison is from another website, and it kind of goes on to describe like the similarities between, you know, what I just read, and then this is like an older. Here, I'll just read it. It'll make more sense. The thing about the sighting which draws me in is how similar the beings described are to the ancient Mesopotamian wind demon known as Pazuzu, which is thought to have represented the southeastern wind and to have been the bearer of storms and drought. This is all well and good until you consider that Pazuzu was always represented as a humanoid with the head of a lion or a dog, the talons of an eagle, 2 pairs of wings, and the tail of a scorpion. Pazuzu also bears a crown-like structure on his head in most sculptural depictions. The descriptions seem to line up so perfectly in this case that it almost makes me ponder if Mixon fabricated the story after reading a description of Pazuzu, hoping that no one would actually notice. And, you know, of course, and then he kind of goes on to say, It wouldn't be one of my posts if I didn't hint at the possibility that these weren't aliens at all, but possibly something else, whether it's demons of Pazuzu's ilk or shapeshifters, demons, anything of that nature. So what do you think? Is it bullshit? Is this old man off his fucking rocker, or you think he actually saw something?
Well, that's pretty far-fetched. That's a pretty far-fetched. I mean, he was like, it sounds like he was, describing the devils, the way you were.
It is a very descriptive, like, tale. Like, he really went all out to describe how they looked.
Yeah, like, isn't that the way the devil is supposed to look sometimes? Like, the way he described that with, kind of a human face, but with, the
hooves.
The hooves, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. The hooves.
The paw, no, the hoof.
Hoof.
It's a Goodfellas reference. Sorry.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm never going to be skeptical to things like this. That's just my personality. I think that things like this out there, somebody, I mean, you saw something, whether, I don't think it's bullshit.
Yeah, again, I guess the thing is this. I always look at it this way, and this is the way I think about it. If the person did not try to get any monetary gain from it, they didn't go to the news channels, they didn't go to the newspaper, they're not like, hey, I got a story here of something that happened to me, how much will you pay me for it? If there was nothing like that, you always have to wonder. The only thing I can think of is the guy was just, high on something or drunk off his ass or something, maybe he saw something that he thought maybe he saw some animals that he thought looked like. I mean, you sure couldn't accidentally describe that looking. I mean, an animal wouldn't accidentally look like that. Not accidentally, but you couldn't mistake it, is what I'm trying to say. So if there was no monetary or financial gain on it, you always do have to ask yourself, why would people make this stuff up? That is something that, even I'm a big skeptic on this shit, but I do have to say, when it comes to paranormal and all that crap, but I do have to say that I always look at the person. Are they trying to make money off the story? Are they just trying to come up with are they taking an area where there's supposed paranormal activity that happens and just, spinning a story on it to try to make something? If they're not, then, it's kind of, you have to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would he say all this stuff? What year did this happen, Buddha?
2000.
Oh, so that was recent. Yeah, that's all I can say.
All right. Well, we can go on to another one if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Like I said, I have a couple. All right, so this one it actually cites a source as the CIA document paper reports alleged evidence on mishap involving UFO. That's the source article for what this story is being told. So it's tabloid newspapers, a declassified CIA documents, and 23 Soviet soldiers killed in an extremely odd fashion by a flying saucer. And the author in this article kind of goes on to say, like, I'd come across this story in just the early days of my research, but he pretty much dismissed it because it just sounds fucking crazy. And the only place that it was really ever being reported was tabloid newspapers. So then he goes on to say, recently, I have managed to unearth the genuine declassified CIA files on the incident using the FOIA archives online. For those that don't know, it's the Freedom of Information Act, which is when you can request information pretty much be given to you, but the government just doesn't matter. You can request information and they're supposed to give it to you. So then he goes on to say that once he got the files, it pretty much just made it more confusing. So here's what happened. The issue of the Kiev newspaper, and I'm going to butcher these pronunciations, Holos Ukraini, something, published on the 27th of March, 1993, allegedly contained a reprint from another newspaper by the name of Ternopil Vechirny, which contained an article called Cosmic Revenge. This article claimed that the CIA had come into possession of a 250-page file from the KGB after the aforementioned intelligence organization had been dissolved by Gorbachev, and that a CIA representative had stated that this file painted a horrific picture of revenge on the part of extraterrestrial beings. This alleged file was also said to contain photographs and drawings of, as well as witness testimony from the bizarre happening. According to this alleged KGB material, a quite low-flying spaceship shaped like a saucer appeared over a military unit in the midst of performing a routine training exercise. For some unknown reason, someone decided to launch a surface-to-air missile at the saucer, which impacted and sent the object falling to Earth pretty much not far from where they were. 5 beings with large heads and big black eyes freed themselves from the debris of the crashed craft, and they came together before somehow merging into a singular object that acquired a spherical shape. This odd conglomeration of the 5 aliens started to hiss and buzz before glowing a brilliant white color. It rapidly grew in size before exploding with a burst of dazzling white light. In that instant, the 23 unlucky soldiers who were watching the blast immediately transformed into stone poles. The only survivors of the event were 2 soldiers who were stood in a shaded area and were less exposed to the lethal luminescence. The remains of the destroyed UFO and the petrified soldiers were quickly transported to a secret scientific research station somewhere near Moscow, where it was determined that the bodies of those who had been caught in the petrifying burst had been transmuted into, in quotes, a substance whose molecular composition is no different to that of limestone, end quote. Alleged specialists supposedly claim that this might have been due to exposure to some unknown form of energy. A CIA representative stated that if this event actually took place, then it means that aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. So that was basically what the article from the 1993 reissue, the 1993 issue that reposted the article Cosmic Revenge. Then the author here goes on to pretty much explain kind of his take on it. And it pretty much starts off as like, what the hell did I just read? And he says, I have been able to confirm that the declassified CIA document describing this incident actually does exist, and the newspapers mentioned in the specifications of the source for the report are also real. Interestingly enough, however, the document also states that the story about the CIA possessing a 250-page file about the bizarre attack has been spread partially through the Canadian Weekly World News. Obviously, the Weekly World News is one of the usual suspects for hoax paranormal stories online, mainly because it's just a satirical tabloid that everyone knows just, publishes bullshit. As of writing this article, I have been unable to in the Ukrainian newspapers, but it does not mean that they do not exist. I think that the CIA would have perhaps done more research into this story and discovered there was nothing to investigate if that was the case. The fact that the Weekly World News is involved throws some doubt on the reality of the claims made in the document. However, as does the highly sensational language used in quotes from alleged CIA representatives. It's also interesting to note that this document was declassified as part of the CREST 25-year program archive, in which documents automatically declassify after a 25-year period thanks to the FOIA. And I think that this document would have likely remained highly classified if there were really any sort of veracity to it. And then he kind of goes on to discuss his theory of, what could potentially have happened, blah, 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 blah. And he kind of talks about like the animosity between the U.S. and the Soviets just could have led, researchers to just make like some kind of bullshit stuff against the CIA or equate some crazy happening to a UFO attack, whether, so it couldn't be possibly blamed on one side. The whole thing could just be pure, utter bullshit that was drummed up by the tabloids. Just kind of a bunch of different things happen here that could have happened here. But the fact that why there actually is a CIA document that goes on to talk about some portion of this, and the fact that it was declassified is still a little bit to go, man, maybe it happened. I mean, who knows if they really got turned to fucking stone, but maybe there was something involving UFOs, and maybe the best way that they could think of to bury this was to just release it to the tabloids, because then they're going to go, oh, well, nobody's going to take this shit seriously. And they'll say, no, we put it all out in the open, and nobody believed it because it was fucking tabloids. You know, I don't know. I definitely think if there was some type of UFO or whatever activity that the government's not going to come out and tell you.
No, but I mean, the story is fascinating. I think the report is real.
Well, there's actually a link to the document in this, and like as I was like looking through the document, I can't really find like the section that they were specifically talking about. The actual document is just going to come out and say, hey, this is where these guys got turned to stone.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with John. It is a fascinating story. It really is. And again, we've said this before. If they exist and if any government knows about it, we're never going to know about it. The only way we would ever know about it is if a spaceship lands in Times Square where 50 million people can see it. That's the only way we're ever going to know about it. Or there's extreme proof and video proof that they exist. If they do exist, the government will never ever let the public know, because the amount of especially if you told the public that, let's say the government did come out and say, all right, guys, all right, country, here we go. We're going to let you know we have evidence of aliens. They're 6 trillion miles away. They can blow up a city with one laser or whatever, some shit like that. I mean, can you imagine how people would react? I mean, you got people going out and buying 600 rolls of toilet paper when they because of they're scared to leave their house. How would they react if they realize that there's aliens in another country, on another planet? That's why the government will never ever admit to it if it does that they do exist, because it would just cause so much craziness, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, even like you saw how they kept making a big deal when they're like, we're going to release all these fucking files. We've been doing all this stuff. And then like when they finally did, they're like, oh yeah, we found nothing, carry on. Nothing to see here.
Right. Or the document has like certain words and, but, or, thor.
Yeah. It's all else fully redacted.
Or they're blacked out too. Like, is that what you meant, John?
That's what I was going to say. It's all redacted.
All redacted. That's right. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like what, and that's another reason. Why did they do that? Was that done? I mean, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you can say that was done just to finally shut people up, to show them, here we go. We're going to show the most basic files that we can show, but we're not going to let the public see the real files. We'll let you see the basic files where somebody saw something and whatever, but the true meat and potatoes of these reports, we're not going to let them see, and we're not going to know any better. We're not going to know if these are available or not. It's the same thing with the JFK assassination. They let loose, I don't know, 1,000 documents, but yet there's still a couple hundred documents that they will not release for national security.
National security. So, fucking
yeah.
God, what the biggest crock of shit.
So
very secure.
Yeah, right, exactly. So there you go. I mean, what's the point, right? What's the point? Well, why they even release any of them then, if they're going to not release the ones that give us the answers?
Been dead for well over, it's 63, so it's going to be almost 60 years now. The guy's been dead.
Yeah, next year.
So it's like, what possibly could happen that is unsecure if this got out? Like, what would, you know what I mean?
JFK zombie.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, there you go.
Well, it would lead credence to the fact that that is a good point, John, because that would lead to say, well, is the government is the government involved in his assassination? So, like you said, no one's alive. Anyone that even had anything to do with his assassination they're all long gone. Everybody's dead. So it's like you said. What's the point? What harm could it cause right now?
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
Larry, throw your thoughts in the chat if you have them.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that all you got, Buddha? You got another one?
I could do more if you want. Do you have one?
I do have one. It is another UFO story. It's kind of interesting. Why don't you save the next one for next week? I'll do this one real quick, and then we'll shut her down.
All right.
So, this one's a story out of Canada, the Falcon Lake UFO, and so this one takes place in May of 1967. Stephen McCulloch was prospecting in Falcon Lake, Manitoba, when two UFOs appeared in the sky. This is also off of the Unsolved fandom page. So thank you for posting, and appreciate. I'm going to kind of read over this a little bit. It says he described them as two cigarette-shaped objects with humps in the middle. One of the objects landed near him, and he looked to see if there were any identifying marks on it, and he did not see anything. He thought it was an experimental vehicle from the United States. So as he's walking around the craft, he's yelling for, he says, "Hey, Yankee boys, can you come out?" And he doesn't see anybody come out. He doesn't hear anything. All of a sudden, the door opens up, and he can see inside the craft, and he heard voices inside it. He tried to speak, and this guy is crazy. Like, he can speak English, Russian, Polish, and German, but received no response to any of those languages. Let's see. As he walked closer to the door, the light emitting from the inside became so bright that he had to snap down the visor of his safety goggles. I think he was out like looking for rocks and stuff. He was into like geology. Suddenly the door shut. He tried to touch the craft, but it was burnt by its exterior. The craft rotated in a clockwise direction, and he noticed that there was like a grid-like exhaust vent on the side of it, which shot out a large amount of gas that set his clothes on fire. Mysterious burns appeared on his body, and it was kind of like 3 rows of dots that kind of burned into his chest. It was crazy. This was from an episode of Unsolved, and they showed the pictures of it, after he had been burned. Oops. Sorry, my watch is going off. So after that, the thing flew away. So after he's hit by the craft and he's been burned, it took him about 9 hours to get home. He was disoriented. He wasn't feeling well. He actually then went to the hospital, and he was actually complaining of sickness due to the encounter. For weeks, a strange sulfuric odor emanated from his body. He was tested for radiation poisoning, but it came back negative. A few weeks later, after the incident, he went back to the site with a friend. They had found a burned-up semicircle on the ground, dead branches, and within days took the RCMP to the location of the landing site. To this day, no one has been able to explain what happened to him or what the UFO was, but interesting, the burns from it are still on him. He lives in Winnipeg, Canada, but he was in Falcon Lake on vacation with his wife and children on the day of the encounter. Let's see here. It says the RCMP became involved. Royal Canadian Mounted Police, obviously. After the encounter, on the day of the incident, Stephen refused to let the RCMP officer inspect his shirt or his wounds. The RCMP officer described Stephen's condition in the incident, saying he had taken black substances, possibly wood and ashes, and rubbed it on his chest. So, I don't know. I'm not buying that. Let's see. A year after he returned to the site with a friend, they found some molten material that was radioactive. An analysis determined that the material was a type of silver that was difficult to obtain. It had been encoded with a pitch blende ore, which was a blend of uranium and radium. It is believed that this was planted by someone who wanted to make Stephen's story more believable. I'm not buying that either. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the story. Like I said, the guy was out in the middle of the woods and saw the craft, went up to it, touched it, burned his clothes, burned him, and the pattern that was on the craft actually burned into his chest. So
what year did this happen?
67.
Was there pictures?
No, but I mean pictures of him.
The pattern.
Yeah, you can find it online. I'll send you a link.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It looks like a 3-dot pattern. Stephen McCulloch, I believe. So, trying to pull it up here, but it was on Unsolved.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it's on his stomach.
Yeah, it's like, well, no, it's like 4 dots or something like that. But yeah,
This looks like a Connect 4 pattern.
yeah.
It's like a bunch of dots.
But his shirt, you can see his shirt here is burned. But yeah, I mean, and he still has the marks on his chest to this day.
So he must have been pretty young at that time.
Well,
when
I don't
that
know if
happened.
he's still alive. He might be dead now. This was years
Oh,
ago.
you meant when the show actually showed
Yeah.
on.
So
That's like a common theme, though. You hear about when, whenever people talk about stuff like this, and whether or not they actually touch any of it, like the radiation exposure. Although you did say it came back negative.
well, he tested negative, but the things in the area came back radioactive.
Positive.
Yeah.
And what
Weird.
about the whole sulfuric acid smell?
I smell like sulfuric acid.
I mean, that's weird. If other people were noticing that out of him, that's really weird.
So
I see the photo now. It looks like almost like a tire ran over him in this black and white photo.
So yeah, I'm trying to see if he's still alive. I mean,
he looks pretty
Say
old
how-
if that's in the 60s.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm seeing.
he looks like he's at least his 30s there in that photo.
That's a rough 30.
Well, people,
Yeah,
people
they-
were rough.
Yeah,
Huh?
they any of those shows that like me and Natalie watch, and it'll be like video documented from the 80s, and they're like so and so 22 years old, and you're like, good God,
Yep.
like that is a rough fucking 22.
That's true, man. A couple weeks ago, it's like the younger generations, we look so much younger than like our fathers and grandfathers did at the same age. It's crazy. People that are like my age now, you look at them like in the 1970s or 60s, they look like they're in their easily in their 50s.
Oh, dude, it's insane. Like, but if you think about it, everybody drank and smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. And people live just
fucking weathers you.
rougher lives. Huh?
I'm
What's that?
saying it just weathers you, dries your skin
Yeah.
out, like all that shit.
Yep, you're right. You're right. And they didn't eat good either. So, which
It's like 99 he
That
passed
too.
away.
did he?
Yeah, it looks like it. So
How old was he? Did it say?
83.
83. Okay, so he was.
If I'm
Yeah, he
reading-
was definitely.
If I'm reading the correct obituary, but from the obituary, it's saying that he came over here during the let's see, he was born in Poland, 1916. When he came of age, he enlisted in the Polish Army and began training that would prepare him to attain a junior officer's rank at the outbreak of the Second World War.
Well, he was about in his 50s in this photo,
Yeah,
close to 50. Yep.
yeah. Interesting story. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Like I said, he had those burns on his body throughout his entire life. So
What if he just did that with a bunch of cigars?
that's what somebody accused him of doing it like that too. But I don't know. It looks too symmetrical for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely like a grid.
And it's almost too perfect.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Although it wouldn't
shocked
really
that-
be that.
Oh, go ahead.
It wouldn't be that hard to make like a perfect something to do that. Just saying.
Even in the I mean, I know the 60s didn't have a lot of computerized technology, but
No, I don't. I mean, like if you literally wanted to burn yourself.
yeah.
I'm surprised though. I mean, that story. I'm surprised. Okay, I'm looking at a better photo of it now. I see the guy now, but to me, it looks like you know what? It reminds me of like some kind of hot iron laid on his stomach.
Yeah.
Like a waffle iron.
Yeah, like a waffle iron. But
Like a
why the
bed
hell
warmer.
would somebody? Yeah, why the hell would somebody do that? I'm surprised there's no photos of him like later on. Like maybe in the 70s or whatever, still showing the marks.
Yeah. Right. So, I don't know, but I always thought that one was interesting.
Here's something here. It's oh shit, it wouldn't load. It says 54 years since Falcon Lake's infamous incident, and it shows a dude with his shirt lifted up, but that grid is not like. A lot of it's gone. It's about half there, and like some of it's kind of like blotched and smeared.
Really?
But it's definitely like scarred. What was his
That's
name,
what I was
John?
saying.
Stefan McCulloch.
Oh, I thought isn't it Steven?
Steven, yeah.
Oh.
Stefan Urkel.
Yeah. There's his burn shirts. Yeah, I see the picture now. It's definitely not as symmetrical as it was in the first pictures.
Yeah, it's like off. It's like off to the side too.
Yeah, but well, then again, like your tattoos and stuff don't shift as you get older. You know what I mean? So
They actually have a picture of the shirt too.
yeah.
I saw that. Yep.
You know what though, man? That if you're looking at that shirt,
You can see the same pattern.
no, it doesn't really match.
Oh, you mean because it's like where the arms are? It's too high up.
Yeah, like it's
Is that what you mean?
something's off. Something's off. Who
They
knows?
said
I mean,
that it emitted a gas, which then caused his shirt to catch fire. So
yeah, but the burn is at the top, which is like
Right.
where the top of his it would almost be like just below the neckline. And like none of his hair even looks singed. Well, maybe a little bit.
yeah, but this was years ago.
No, but yeah, I guess how old is the picture of him laying there?
Yeah.
Right. It could have been like a month later or whatever, 2 months later.
Either way though, like this doesn't like it's almost totally centered on his body, but if you look at the shirt, it's like way off to the side.
Call him bullshit on it, Buddha?
I mean, that dude went through a lot of fucking work if he fucking burned himself all up, you know?
Well, not only that, but I mean, for everything that he went through in his entire life, leading up to that point, I find it hard to believe someone would want to do that to themselves. You know what I mean? And so I guess I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like why? What like Dan said, like what are you gaining from it?
Yeah.
Right.
Making money off it.
Yeah, that's the thing that always gets me. I mean, again, if you don't make anything out of it, like Buddha said, man, I mean, if that was some kind of, let's take a hot iron or something like that, I'm going to put it on my stomach and I'm going to tell people this big outrageous story. Not to mention you have to have a great imagination to bring up, make that stuff up. Outrageous imagination, but you'd have to go, like he said, go through some pain. That's weird as hell because I can't see somebody, especially it wasn't some young teenager. It wasn't some, 18-year-old who teenagers do stupid shit. This was a guy that was 50-something years old with a family, you said a wife and kids.
Right.
Seems kind of crazy to go through all that just for nothing.
Right.
In this one article, it says he suffered weight loss and sickness, and then the pattern of burns on his chest lasted for 3 weeks from the time he touched the bright red UFO. But then you were saying that he still had them.
I remember seeing the episode, and I thought that he had showed the producers, and like it was on the episode, an actual picture of his chest, a video. I could be wrong though. It's been a while since I've seen that episode.
You said that was on Unsolved?
Yeah, the whole series is on YouTube right now. So
I was just trying to see if I can find any clips from that episode.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Cool. Well, that's what I got. If we want to bring it up again, we can go back into it next week for sure. Yes. No.
Whatevs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Cool.
Cool. Good story. Cool story.
Yeah. No.
Both of them were.
I was gonna do that, or I'm thinking next week. TWA 800. So
What's that?
TWA Flight 800, the one that
Yeah. The one that disappeared.
it didn't disappear, it crashed right after takeoff.
Oh, that's that one. I'm thinking of another one. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
This dude actually did write a book, though.
Oh, did he?
So it says, he did not become rich. He sure took a good shot at it. He wrote a book, which for some reason printed in a limited run in Polish. Later years, he expressed extreme anger at the fact that he didn't make a lot of money off the book, and in fact, the publisher may have lost money on the deal. Just because he didn't end up making a profit doesn't mean he didn't make up the story in an attempt to make the profit. It just means he did a lousy job of it. So who knows? I mean, you never know.
There you have it. All right, well, we're going to shut it down. Tune back in next Thursday evening, same time, same place. For Daniel Rady, Steve Gibson, and everyone else in the Type 3 TV universe. Buddha, say goodnight, Larry.
Good night, Larry.